Open your eyes. See your world yellow. Yellow is playful, surprising, and individual. It's the stuff you surround yourself with. Laughter, hope, friends. Think yellow. See
yellow.
Be
yellow.
We are. Seriously.
10 News with Tracy Spicer.
Tonight, city violence, anti-Israeli anger boils over on Australian streets. Crisis talks, world leaders meet to end the Middle East killings, and a day of pomp, a day of grief. Thousands honour the Queen Mother. Good evening. First tonight, wild anti-Israeli protests on the streets of Sydney. Mounted police were forced to charge Palestinian protesters who were throwing bottles and pieces of wood. At least 2 officers were injured.
Violence and anger, pro-Palestinian protesters at the doors of the Israeli consulate. Throwing their banners and other missiles, passions boiled over, turning the protest into a wild crush. Police eventually charged on horseback to disperse the crowd. Surging forward, they attempted to move angry protesters out of the way. At least 2 officers were injured.
Certain sections of that protest group had some items in their possession and threw them at police.
This had begun as a protest against Israel's military offensive in the West Bank, the tensions of the conflict, though, whipping some into a frenzy.
Down, down, USA!
Israeli flags were burned throughout today's protest. Several thousand had gathered early to march through Sydney's CBD before stopping outside the US consulate, accusing America of excusing Israel's war. But Australia was not alone. Anti-Israeli US protests held around the world. In Jordan, stones thrown at the US embassy, running street battles countered with tear gas and water cannon. In Turkey, a similar response to the violence from Muslim crowds. In New York, protesters demanded Israel pull out of the occupied territories. Pro-Palestinian and pro-Israeli protesters clashed, exchanging insults. Islamic countries in particular are facing growing pressure to escalate rhetoric to action, a step few are willing to take. Eddie Meyer, 10 News.
And British Prime Minister Tony Blair is in Texas tonight for a weekend of crisis talks with President George W. Bush in a bid to avert further Middle East violence. The talks come as Israel keeps up its deadly West Bank blitz. 4 Palestinians, including an 8-year-old boy, were killed by Israeli fire in a refugee camp in Nablus. And 2 Israeli soldiers are dead after fighting in a refugee camp at Jenin. 3 other soldiers were injured.
Israeli artillery exchanging fire with Syrian-backed Hezbollah militia on Israel's northern border. Israeli jets attacked the outskirts of Lebanese border towns after disputed Israeli positions were hit by rockets. The Israelis threatening further retaliation unless the rockets stop falling on their territory. These tanks heading for the Syrian frontier. But inside Israel's borders, no let-up in the war against the Palestinians. Panic on the streets of Hebron as Israeli helicopter gunships pass overhead. 2 cars targeted by the Israelis hit by missiles. 5 Palestinians wounded in the attack, some with severe burns. Despite calls from President Bush for Israel to withdraw, the military onslaught and the killing goes on. Israel claiming to have killed a senior Hamas militant responsible for planning the wave of suicide bombings.
We managed to capture about 1,200 people who are suspected as terrorists.
Smoke rising over Jenin. This is as close as the cameras can get. No one can be sure of the death toll here or in other West Bank towns. Bethlehem remains under siege, although some are venturing out. 200 Palestinians are still holed up in the Church of the Nativity. These monks managing to escape with the help of Israeli soldiers. Elsewhere, more tension, more fear and more destruction. Some families returning to their homes to find them wrecked by soldiers.
Why they did this? I didn't do anything. I was just hiding at my parents' home.
In Ramallah, troops firing stun grenades at journalists. Israelis trying to bar them from covering a key meeting between US envoy Anthony Zinni and Yasser Arafat at the Palestinian leader's besieged headquarters. Palestinian sources report the meeting was, quote, difficult. A three-man political security committee has been set up to work out the next steps. That could include a meeting with US Secretary of State Colin Powell, due to visit Israel and Arab leaders next week in the hope peace can somehow be restored. President Bush and British Prime Minister Tony Blair meeting this weekend to discuss the Middle East crisis. John Hill, 10 News.
The body of the Queen Mother tonight lies in state, protected by 4 guards, thousands queuing for hours to view the casket draped with her personal standard, her diamond-encrusted crown resting on top. The solemn procession of people through Westminster Hall followed a ceremonial parade through London's streets.
On a fresh spring day, the sort that she loved, the Queen Mother's coffin was carried from the Queen's Chapel. It was the start of a grand and sombre pageant befitting a former Queen consort, the last Empress of India. 3 generations of her family lined up behind the gun carriage. The crowds, some of the 400,000 gathered along the route, waited to witness a moment in history. This was a procession the like of which had not been seen for 40 years. On top of the coffin, the crown made for her coronation in 1937. Set with 2,800 diamonds, including the most famous of them all, the Koh-i-Noor. The single wreath of white roses and freesias was from her daughter. The inscription, in loving memory, Lilibet, the Queen's childhood name. With her niece, Lady Sarah Chatto, and the other women of the royal family, the Queen made her way to Westminster Hall by car. Though she seemed composed, she's been greatly saddened by the death of her mother so soon after her sister's and in her Jubilee year. For every minute of the procession, a royal gun salute was fired from Green Park. And along the route, so many landmarks in the Queen Mother's life. The statue of her husband, George VI, her beloved Bertie. His death, half a century ago, had left her bereft. The cortege moved on past the cenotaph, where, in November, the Queen Mother made one of her last appearances, paying tribute to the war dead, as she did each year. On the stroke of noon, the procession wound its way into the Palace of Westminster. There, the Queen was waiting to receive the coffin. As the 8 pallbearers from the Irish Guards lifted it from the gun carriage, a salute from a granddaughter. For Prince Charles, a moment of uncharted grief. As a choir from Westminster Abbey and the Chapels Royal sang a psalm for a woman who was herself deeply religious, her coffin was taken to the catafalque, where it will lie for the next 3 days. It was a solemn ceremony. 50 years on from the lying in state of George VI, his widow's coffin now rests on exactly the same spot. She's become only the 2nd Queen Consort of modern times to be afforded this honour. Her mother-in-law, Queen Mary, was the other. Officers of the household cavalry were the first to take their place for the round-the-clock vigil that's been mounted. And with that guard in place, the Queen and Duke left the hall. There was a word of thanks for those who'd officiated, and for a moment, the Queen's stoic refusal to give in to her feelings seemed to slip. As the Queen and Duke drove back to the palace, a wave of sympathetic applause followed them, from crowds by now up to 20 deep. It was recognition not only of the woman they were mourning, but of the daughter left behind. And so, beneath the ancient beams of this medieval hall, the Queen Mother is now lying in state. On Monday evening, there'll be a final tribute from her 4 grandsons when they take the place of the guards and stand vigil at each corner of her coffin. their own salute to the grandmother Prince Charles called so gloriously unstoppable.
Woomera protesters have staged follow-up action at Melbourne's Maribyrnong Detention Centre. They claim several asylum seekers have been granted visas but are still being detained.
With 11 Woomera detainees still on the run, the campaign continues for those still seeking release. Protesters rallying for 9 asylum seekers who they claim are still in detention despite having been granted visas.
These people are being found to be genuine refugees, and yet they keep delaying their release.
The claims denied by a government representative. The law requires detainees to be released almost immediately after being granted refugee status. Today's rally including several activists involved in last weekend's Woomera protests. A different detention camp, but the song remains the same.
Now, free the refugees! Now, free the refugees! Now!
The protest fuelled by claims detainees at Woomera have been given sleeping tablets.
And this outlines some of the conditions in which people are living and why people were so desperate to escape from the Woomera Detention Centre.
The protesters vowing to continue their campaign at a major protest rally early next month. Cameron Bowe, 10 News.
And now with today's top stories in sport, Matthew White.
Thanks, Tracy. Round 2 of the AFL this afternoon, Collingwood and the Eagles at the MCG, and at Optus Oval, Carlton meet the Sydney Swans. Both teams chasing their first win of the season. In the National Rugby League, Parramatta faced the Melbourne Storm, while overnight Nigel Vungana scored 5 tries as the Bulldogs beat Souths 32-6. And a solid swell for the final day of the Rip Curl Pro at Bells Beach. The details, the early edition of Sports Tonight, Trace.
Thanks, Matt. Still to come in 10 News, a grisly find. 19 bodies seized from an illegal crematorium. And netting the hooligans, Japanese police show off their latest armoury.
"7:30 Sunday. The wait is over. Thousands of people wanted to get on. Now meet the final contenders. A must-see Big Brother special, 7:30 Sunday. Then, the mother of all adventure movies is here.
This just keeps getting better and better.
Brendan Fraser, Rachel Weisz. The blockbuster event that will have you screaming for more. The Mummy following our Big Brother special, Sunday on 10.
No deposit interest free.
I'm now at Lacorn News.
Now, this weekend at Designer, not everything's half price. Half price?
Sunday only, yes, Sunday, 7th of April only. Duck down pillows worth $30, but tomorrow only, just $6.95. But it's for Sunday, April the 7th only. Duck down pillows worth $30, but tomorrow only, just $6.95. But there's a catch. There always is, isn't there? There's only 250 of them. So if you get there too late,
This weekend at Designer, not everything's half price. Half price?
This week at Plant Liquidators, everything is dirt cheap.
Lavenders and daisies, an amazing 3 for $12. Impatiens and begonias in flowers, just 4 for $10. Mondo grass, a ridiculous 6 for $20. Australian natives, a crazy price, 3 for $20. Standard ficus and lily pillies, not $70, now $49.95. There's hundreds of plants, all dirt cheap.
70 Rundle Street, Kent Town. 70 Rundle Street, Kent Town.
Big 5-seater, only $9.99 the lot. Lacorn News.
Adelaide Bank's variable rate home loans have a very low rate and absolutely no application fees. But hurry, offer ends May 18. So call 13 22 20 today.
Experience the true intensity of colour. Clairol Herbal Essences Hair Colour, made with pure colour extracts that saturate your hair for intense colour and shine, with no ammonia and that great Herbal Essences fragrance. Got the urge for unbelievable colour that holds on and won't let go? Yes!
Yes!
Yes! Herbal Essences Hair Colour. Experience the intensity.
Rather be reclining on this? Luxury leather, $19.98. Lacorn News.
You're watching the 5 o'clock news. Kangaroos captain Anthony Stevens has vowed to try to save his marriage despite his wife's affair with former teammate Wayne Carey. The 30-year-old has put his 1-year-old daughter's welfare first, saying she needs her mum and dad. He says he's willing to forgive Kelly and Carey, who quit the club last month after the sex scandal became public. But the new captain thinks it's too early to say whether the fallen AFL star will return to the club. Carey is currently holidaying in Las Vegas with his brother and a friend. The Royal Adelaide Hospital's cardiac surgery unit has finally been cleared of a superbug that forced a week-long closure. Operations were suspended after 5 people were infected by the golden staph organism, which is resistant to antibiotics. 8 patients had their surgery postponed to allow a review of testing and cleaning in the cardiac unit. It's now been cleared of the bacterium and operations will resume on Monday. The federal government's decision on embryonic stem cell research has been praised by some and slammed by others. One MP who openly wanted a ban is the man who helped overturn the euthanasia laws, Kevin Andrews. And he'll be our guest on Meet the Press tomorrow. Also on the show will be Shadow Health Minister Stephen Smith. That's at 11:30 tomorrow morning. 19 bodies have been seized from an illegal crematorium in Florida. They were found during a police investigation which followed the discovery of 300 bodies dumped behind a crematorium in the neighbouring state of Georgia.
Police found the bodies when they descended on the Oakwood Cremation Services building in Miami. One body was already in the process of being illegally incinerated.
When we came here today, we did discover that there were 19 dead bodies inside. One of those bodies was in the retort, currently undergoing cremation. There were 18 other bodies in the refrigeration facility.
Investigators have charged 65-year-old Joseph Damiano, the owner of a company which transports corpses, with illegally operating an incinerator. Just days ago, he was arrested for hauling dozens of bodies to a nearby embalming school for students to practice on, without the consent of family members. Damiano will appear in court tomorrow and faces up to a year in prison. Neighbours say they've suspected something was wrong for years because of a foul odour coming from the building.
I'm surprised that it's taken this long for any of the agencies to have taken action, against something that was inappropriately being conducted.
Authorities are now making arrangements with family members to have the bodies properly disposed of. In the United States, Pam Mackay, 10 News.
And ahead in 10 News, a show for Beatles fans. And together again, twins reunited after a year apart.
Australia's best drama returns.
You've become such a serious, boring, uptight fool.
With the episode you've been waiting for.
You're going to tell Rex that you kissed me last night?
That's none of your business.
The Secret Life of Us returns 8:30 Monday.
You win. At Wayne Phillips Ford. You win. With affordable Ford. You win. With the winning team. More to choose. New and used. You win with Wayne Phillips. Wayne Phillips Ford.
How'd you like to win $10,000 off your mortgage? In fact, how'd you like 3 chances to win $10,000 off your mortgage? That's a total of $30,000 to be won. Simply complete the coupon in this weekend's Sunday Mail. Then, over the following weeks, enter games 2 and 3 for more chances to win $10,000 off your mortgage. Remember, you can enter as many times as you like. Don't miss game 1 this weekend in the Sunday Mail. Conditions apply.
You don't buy furniture every day, but when you do, pay Wohlers a visit. Wohlers is a family business with a huge choice of traditional mahogany furniture.
I would like to think we're creating tomorrow's antiques.
Along with a great range of casual furniture for today's lifestyles and budgets.
Let us help you turn your house into a home.
For those finishing touches, browse Wohlers' collection of accessories and gift ideas. Experience the warmth and charm of Wohlers, Murray Street, Tanunda.
Kick off the 2002 AFL season with a visit to the new updated AFL website. There's all new features like chat rooms with players and coaches from your favourite club, video replay of all games available 24 hours after the game, which you can edit to create your own highlights, and online footy tipping for the 2002 season. In fact, there's everything the discerning AFL fan could possibly want. So visit afl.com.au.
Phillips Kia. You win right here at Wayne Phillips Kia. You win right here, yes you win at Wayne Phillips Kia.
Last week, he scored a first with Daniel Johns.
Oh, yeah.
This week, Road catches up with Darren Hayes. Anastasia. And fresh from the panic room, Jodie Foster. Rove Live, 9:30 Tuesday on 10.
Japanese police have unveiled the latest weapon in crowd control ahead of soccer's World Cup. Dubbed the Spider-Man gun, the new weapon is designed to trap soccer hooligans by firing a nylon net up to 5 metres. Capable of capturing up to 3 people at a time, the net will be used at locations right around Japan. Police will also face crowds with new lightweight reinforced see-through riot shields, a clear improvement from the old. And if that doesn't stop troublemakers, there's also a new foot and hand catching device. Fans of the Fab Four are in for a treat with one of the largest displays of Beatles photography ever presented on show in Melbourne. The Let It Be exhibition captures Paul, John, George and Ringo from their early days through to the late 60s. Some of the lithographs have even been signed by McCartney.
It's unbelievable. One of the most interesting things for us when we do shows like this, besides the fact that we get phone calls from all over the world, is the number of young kids that come through, 17, 18, 19. I mean, when I was that age, we were all into the Beatles.
An emotional reunion of 2 Chinese toddlers in the United States. Separated a year ago when one was adopted overseas, the twins are finally together again.
Fresh off a flight from China, little Brianna Rosine hugs her identical twin sister, Sienna, the sister she almost lost forever. This story began a year ago when Jane and Randy Rosine adopted Sienna, then a year old, from China. After they got home, they discovered from pictures taken by her foster mother that there was a twin sister left behind, a child they never knew about, but their new daughter hadn't forgotten.
Everybody said it sounded like she was mourning, you know, and we didn't know why. But after we got home and saw the pictures, it made more sense why she was whimpering.
The other twin was still in the Chinese orphanage. After 9 months of endless paperwork, DNA tests, and hand-wringing, the Rosines were cleared to adopt her, and they named her Brianna. Randy Rosine brought her home from China this morning. Sister Sienna was waiting. At first, there were tears. Then, a little touch. Finally, Brianna hugs Sienna. So natural and familiar.
It's amazing. It's been a long road to get this done.
I go.
Tonight, the twins are home in a room they will share. They'll sleep together after almost missing a lifetime.
Lovely story. The weather's next, and then it's Sports Tonight with Matthew White.
Thanks, Tracy. We've got all of today's footy, both the AFL and NRL, plus more gold for Australia at the Short Course Swimming Championships and taking flight in a big fall at Sandown.
The Crows have taken flight in 2002. They've downed the Dogs, and tonight they've got the Cats in their crosshairs. You'll see all your AFL action right here on 10.
Hurry! Payneham Home Furnishings and Leatherworld's new arrivals are in, with up to 12 months interest-free. Beachport Tassie Oak Dining Table, great value from $590. Oxford, covered in quality Italian leather, 3-seater, only $2,150. Rockstone Fossil Stone Entertainment Unit, only $990. The latest designs at the best prices are now at Payneham Home Furnishings and Leatherworld. Hurry!
At Betty Buys, we're taking no prisoners. Check it out. Madison, $3.99. The Simpson, $3.99. Brass and ceramic queen-size 4-poster, $3.99. Black metal 4-poster, $2.99. Brass and ceramic king-size, $4.99. That's under half price. Genuine Baltic pine 4-poster, unbelievable, at $9.99. You see this? It's a hotspot. You see a hotspot, you make us an offer. If it's reasonable, done deal. Betty Buys, Surfland Street. Better be quick.
Oh, breaks my heart. After 20 years in the business, I'm finished. You'll see the signs just off South Road at the brickworks. I've worked my guts out for years. Now it's all over. Thousands of magnificent plants. I'm damn near giving them away. Everything's at stupid prices. Once it's gone, I'm out of here.
Sunday night on Premiere.
We step inside the panic room and meet Jodie Foster in an exclusive interview. Then, the sensual new love story behind the sun that's sure to make your screen ignite. Premiere, 6 o'clock Sunday.
Celebrations in South Australia today marked the bicentenary of one of the most significant encounters in our nation's history. 200 years ago, 2 European explorers put aside national hatred to chart Australia's coast and future.
The two countries were at war when French explorer Nicolas Baudin and Britain's Matthew Flinders met off South Australia. Both had been ordered to chart the unknown southern coast of the continent. This charcoal sketch of 1802 records their meeting. It's one of dozens of drawings made by the explorers.
I know Flinders for certainly was delighted when he realised that Baudin had been coming from the east and he'd been coming from the west, so all the discoveries that he'd already made were his and his alone.
Miss Flinders Petrie even carries a lock of Flinders' hair.
Baudin, unfortunately for him, arrived after Flinders, so this land was settled by British Europeans and not French Europeans, but he made a very significant contribution to the discovery of the coast of South Australia.
The meeting prompted this year's Encounter 2002 program. Today, tall ships Enterprise, Failee, One-and-All and Young Endeavour and a French warship were welcomed in Encounter Bay off Victor Harbour.
We've been following the Encounter 2002 bandwagon around, and it's been so exciting the whole way around, and this is just huge.
These joint commemorative stamps were released today amid entertainment, including a food and wine festival that continues tomorrow. Peter Sellen, 10 News.
Time now for a look at the weather, and it was showery today in Cairns, mostly sunny in Brisbane, sunny in Sydney and Canberra, mostly cloudy in Melbourne, mostly sunny in Hobart, Adelaide, Perth, the top end and across the centre. There's thick cloud across Western South Australia, while low cloud and showers push onto Queensland's coast. There are also low cloud areas over southern parts. A broad high is moving across the southeast, while a front over southwestern WA will bring showers. For tomorrow then, showers for Cairns, a possible shower for Brisbane and the Golden Sunshine coasts. Mostly cloudy in Sydney, early fog for Canberra, increasing sunshine for Melbourne and a possible shower in Hobart. To South Australia, cloud increasing for Adelaide, Port Lincoln and Victor Harbour. Across to WA, showers for Perth, mostly sunny in Broome. And around the nation for Monday, a possible shower for Brisbane, mostly sunny in Sydney, Canberra, Melbourne and Hobart. Mostly cloudy in Adelaide, mostly sunny in Perth and late thunder forecast for Darwin. Finally tonight, a lucky escape for a curious canine, distressed after becoming stuck in a sewer pipe. Rescue workers in San Francisco had to be called in to free Brody the Black Labrador. Rescuers digging more than a metre through brick and cement to free the frightened pooch. At the first possible opening, Brody wasted no time wiggling to safety to be reunited with his owner. And that's the news for now. Thanks for joining us. The Late Bulletin tonight is just after 10:30, but stick around now for Sports Tonight with Matthew White. I'm Tracy Spicer. Good night.
I've always felt with South Australia that the periods of greatest growth and expansion have always coincided with the periods when we've had the best view of ourselves. Now, you know, it's tremendously important to have a sense of confidence in your state and where you live, and to look outward to the rest of the world as an opportunity and not something that is a challenge or something which is better or greater than you are.
7:30 tonight following 7th Heaven. Catch all the AFL action as the Adelaide Crows go head-to-head with Geelong.